Hello and welcome. You are watching Pulse of Africa from South Africa's capital, Johannesburg. This year's G20 summit is exceptional as it marks the first time that the summit is being held on the African soil under the South Africa's G20 presidency. Just to give you some context about what G20 is all about, it is an international platform which was established in the aftermath of the 1997 financial crisis, which hit hard on the global south, specifically the Asian country. During that time, the G20 played an important role in terms of stabilizing the economic situation of those countries. Since then, the role and imperatives of G20 have been evolved and become expanded, and the G20 become an important key global platform to address some of the outstanding issues of our time, that is developmental bottlenecks, climate crisis, dates, inequality, and other related issues. Its vital contribution was very much evident during the 2018 financial crisis when the G20 leaders committed to expand the International Monetary Fund or IMF by $500 billion. Even again in 2019 when the COVID-19 pandemic was outbreak, it has actually created a meltdown on the economy of the globe. So this is actually the international platform that South Africa has joined some 25 years back. Since then, South Africa has played an important role in terms of shaping the decision-making process of the G20. This year is, as I've said, particularly very much special for South Africa as it marks its presidency of the G20. Since South Africa took the presidency of G20 in 2020 for December, South Africa has outlined 4 priority areas. The first one is inclusive development. As we all know that for the past 2 decades, the inequalities between the developed country and the developing countries have been widening, and South Africa has been, throughout its tenureship, has been working to bridge the gap between the developed one and the developing country, the have and the have not as well. If you look at some of the reports which is commissioned by the G20 recently, it also actually exposed this stark difference between the two spectrum as well, and South Africa has been played an important role in terms of just bridging the gap between two spectrum. And the second issue which is actually given due emphasis by South Africa throughout its tenureship was debt sustainability, specifically for low income countries, and South Africa throughout its tenureship has been voicing about the reform of the international financial institution. This is actually an echoing of the voice of the global south and particularly the African countries. As we all know that for the past 2 decades, the debt in Africa has been ballooning. For example, if you look at some figure like the public debt is reached around $1.8 trillion. At the same time, the debt servicing of the African country reached more than $150 billion per annum. So it is actually dodging many African countries. This is one of the elephant in the house issue, and South Africa has been calling the international community, the international leaders, to reform the international financial institution. And the third one is the third things which was actually given the emphasis by South Africa was the just transition. As we all know that specifically African country has always been on the receiving end of the climate calamities, and despite the fact that Africa has contributed less than 4% of the global greenhouse emission, Africa still bear an unproportionate burden of the climate adversity. So this is actually a huge burden for Africa, and South Africa throughout its tenureship of the G20 has been calling for the international leaders to make a real transition from fossil fuels to that of the clean energy, and at the same time calling for the quality, at the same time quantities of the financial contribution by the developed country to that of the developing country, enhancement of this financial support as well. And the last one actually, which was actually due emphasis by South Africa, was the health and that of the food security. As I have said, like when COVID-19 broke out in 2019, the World Health System was tested, and it somehow failed as well, as we have seen, like many people were died, specifically in the global north because of this COVID-19, and the health system was not ready to respond to such a kind of crisis. So South Africa has been calling out for the international communities to work for the strengthening of the health system as well. And the other thing is the food security, and South Africa has been calling out for the strengthening of food security across Africa and the global south. So these all things are going to be high on the agenda of today's G20 leaders summit, and there are also other issues that are going to be on the table for discussion for these leaders. And we, the Pulse of Africa, are here in Johannesburg to give you some live updates about this issue.